hoping that some of you have already prepared and grabbed, because Gerald did offer free samples, which was very generous. Thank you. So the floor is yours, Gerald.
Excellent.
If you'd like to do it. If anybody wants to put themselves on mute, if there's anything that's noisy, please do.
Yeah,
okay.
Apologies for this end if there's any grinding going on in the background. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Gerald FitzGerald from Peaberry Coffee Roasters, talking to you from Basepoint in Andover. Okay, that's where we're based at the moment. I guess I should tell you how I started, just give you a brief overview of that. I started in coffee in 2003 at Andover train station, where I had a little tiny florist van, you know, the vans that the florists use, a Suzuki carry van, very small. And I had it converted, and you could literally flip the lid of the boot and stand at the back of it and serve coffee to unsuspecting commuters as they walk by. Now, quite often people would walk by me at 6:15, 6:30 in the morning with their noses in the air and say they had had a perfectly good kettle at home and would walk on. So it was a bit of a task to build up a trade there, but eventually I did. It took a couple of years. It was a pretty hard way of living, because standing at Andover train station at the top of the tunnel that goes under the line that leads to London, it's probably the draftiest place in the world. And I can remember standing there in -7 with 3 pairs of trousers, 2 jumpers, and a woolly hat, and never being warm. Sometimes my milk cloth would actually freeze on the top of my coffee machine. You know, the cloth that you use to clean the steam ones, that would be frozen in between trains, and I'd have to sort of break it up and put it under the hot water again and defreeze it. It was that cold. So a hard way to earn a living. And I did that for about 3.5 years. And then we evolved into a little limousine office that I discovered was vacant at the front of the station, which was about 36 square feet. So really no room to even swing a cat in, but just enough room to get a couple of fridges in there, a coffee machine, an urn, and a grinder and a decaf grinder, and a few flapjacks and biscuits. So no room to really do any tea, to do any food either. So it really did rely on high volume coffee sales in order to make a good living for one. So I carried on doing that for about another 6 or 7 years. And then I got rather fed up, I guess, with people supplying me with coffee, which I didn't think was right, wasn't particularly good, and thought, well, the best thing to do is to roast my own coffee. And I'd always been interested in this dark art, which seems that you didn't really sort of know how you were going to learn how to do that, or who was going to help you. Nobody really wanted to help you. And so I thought I'd embark on doing that. I spent the whole of the summer of 2012, after making coffee at the train station. I'd go home and shut the shop at about 1:30, and then I'd go and sit in the garden at home with my sample roaster, which is basically a micro version of that, but an electric thing. And I'd be making the most disgusting blends and burning coffee and sitting there for hours and hours. And thank God it didn't rain much in 2012. So I was able to sit out in the garden without electrocuting myself, and just learning how to roast coffee, I guess. And having also done a 3-day course with the gentleman that made this roaster, or his company did, which is Deirdrick. I don't know if you can see there, but if you can see, it's dyed rich. Okay, so hopefully that's going to happen to me. We'll see. But anyway, he came over from the US, because it's a US machine, and we're setting up the UK agency. And I managed to do 3 days with Steve and Deirdrick, which gave me an insight on how to roast coffee and how to actually operate the machinery. But really, it was down to myself visiting forums, doing lots of research online, seeing what other people were doing, and trying to adapt myself and copy what they were up to, until I really sort of understood all the other factors that come into coffee roasting. So that was in about 2013. We set up the roastery at Basepoint. And I managed to do that with the help of a couple of investors, friends that I had at the time, and one other chap I was introduced to. And it was a large capital outlay. It was about £80,000 to set up what we've got in here. It was a big risk because obviously I wasn't a particularly good roaster in those days. So anything could happen. It was probably unlikely we were going to make a success of the business. In actual fact, about 2.5 years later, we went bust. And that wasn't entirely my fault, but it was because I'd fallen out with one of the shareholders, and we'd had a bit of a head-to-head. He wanted to run the business his way, I wanted to run it my way, and eventually he wanted his money back, which forced us into basically insolvency. And we managed to do a purchase package of insolvency with family members of my family investing in, and we managed to buy this shareholder out and set up a new company with new shareholders. So that was a particularly painful experience, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Probably slowed me down by another 18 months. I lost a couple of good existing customers that I had, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that experience to anyone, but having been through it, it's probably made me a bit more resilient, if nothing else, and aware of how you can quickly go bust if you're not careful, and how to try not to get into too much debt going forward. So we set up Peaberry Coffee Roasters in about 2016, and we've gradually rebranded twice, I think, since then. And now I find myself in the position I am in today, where we've rebranded finally for the final time. And we've got, so that's kind of the branding, I guess, there. Peaberry Coffee Roasters on the cup. We've also got very pretty illustrations on the bags. I've got a strap line now, which took me about 3 days to think up, calling the shots, which is, I think, a little bit arrogant, but I quite like that. And that's where we are today, still at Basepoint. I feel like I've done a life sentence here already, but I'm still here, and we're at a point now after COVID where I think that actually we might make a success of it. So very exciting. I guess I should tell you a little bit about COVID, because before COVID, we had a very rustic website, and you know, we were doing okay on wholesale. That was quite good. We're starting to build that market, but online we really pretty shabby. We might get a couple of orders a week, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 if we were very lucky. You know, from really sort of kind customers that seem to like the coffee, and managed to wade through our rustic website. Within a week of the lockdown in COVID happening, my designer decided to redo the website for me very quickly, and we've now got a great website. We've been redoing that and making it better and better. I think the website now looks fantastic, and we moved the whole business into an online business, because overnight, obviously, we lost 95% of our wholesale business. So we had to reinvent ourselves within a couple of weeks. And we managed to do that. It was really amazing, actually, the amount of people that started ordering online and kept us going. We managed to keep going in here. We kept the door open, shoved a table up against the door, and people still, the brave, 1 or 2 brave people still came up and risked getting a coffee from me, and bought a bag of coffee. So that helped as well. And then, of course, my very good friend, Rishi Sunak, who I feel is a very dear friend now to me, provided us with significant benefits, of which I applied for every single one I could possibly find, because I felt that, you know, this was, we were definitely eligible for it, even if I felt a slight sort of pang of guilt and all this money that was being handed over to us, as I don't like receiving any benefits. I've never received benefits for many years, having had a very bad experience with that before, which I won't go into now. But it's, so we managed, with the help of government money, to a lot of business development. And we now have done a soft launch on Amazon. I've been able to buy a lot more coffee. We've been able to do some merchandise. I've been able to find new people who are really talented to come and work with me in the business, not necessarily in the roastery itself, but on the outside, on the peripherals. I've managed to find a good marketing lady who has been sort of handling Facebook and doing posts through email marketing, which all of that stuff, which I'm totally technophobic about and just can't do. So much better to hand it over to somebody who can, and I can get on with what's important, which is the roasting and the running of the business. We've got a great designer who I take my lead from on everything, who I think really gets what we do and understands how to present, how we should look, which is vital. It's all very well having a good logo and a good design, but then blatting Instagram with some really shabby pictures and going way off brand. So I don't touch any of that. He does all of the photography for us, and I basically do the write-ups. I do a bit of writing. That's it. That's where my forte is, possibly. So I guess I feel in a warm place at the moment. We're turning over an acceptable amount of money each month, probably about 11 or 12,000 pounds a month, and I've still not got, I would say I've probably got about 50% of wholesale still shut at the moment. Up in London, I've got my biggest customers, and various other restaurants in the New Forest are only open a couple of days a week. So it's quite exciting. I'm hoping that online and when wholesale turns back on properly and with some new business coming in, we're going to have quite a strong business going forward, which is really, really exciting. And I didn't think I'd be in this place a year later or a year and a half later that we're in today. So I'm one of the fortunate, one of the very, very few, I think, that have benefited well out of this, apart from obviously Tesco's and Sainsbury's and all of the online supermarkets, which have done frightfully well. Yeah, and I love what I do, so it's a real joy to make coffee for people and educate people on how coffee should taste, and meet new people and see the expressions on their faces when they taste our coffee. That's a real joy, and it's also a good addiction, I think, that I'm spreading into Andover. You know, people are becoming addicted to our coffee, and that's a wonderful thing. You know, it's good for your health. It's good for your libido. It's 40% reduction in liver cancer. It's supposed to be good for Alzheimer's. There's lots and lots of things that really good coffee and drinking quality coffee can help with improving your life. So that's, I think, in a nutshell at the moment, all I can really tell you. I'm sure there's lots more I should be telling you, but if anybody wants to ask me some questions, I'd be very happy to talk about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Gerald. I have actually asked people to put things into the chat, asking any questions.
Okay.
I see that now Nigel has said it's awesome coffee. I would agree with that.
Bless
Emma
you.
said, I'm not a big lover of coffee, but I like a milky latte. So what could you offer me?
Oh, if you like a milky latte, it's probably best I give you our house blend, Peace and Hope, which is the best actually coffee that goes with the milk of all of the coffees that I sell. It's a really good one in the milk. It's all right black. It's not a bad espresso, but in the milk it thrives and it punches through milk, which can be a real blocker of flavors for coffee. And because I try and roast it to the best of my ability, it really does shine in the milk. And if you like a milky latte, you want a good house blend or our Peace and Hope blend. It would be a waste of time if I was to bring out a really good organic Colombian, for instance, and then fill the cup with milk on top of the espresso. You'd lose a lot of notes, and you wouldn't really appreciate that coffee.
Yeah, Gerald,
we've got a bag of Peace and Hope on the go at the moment, and had that this morning with my breakfast. So that was nice.
Excellent. And how was it?
Oh, it's so good. It's really nice. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm so pleased. You know, yeah, go on.
Lucy's asked, how do you source the coffee beans And she says the hot chocolate is amazing too, not too sweet.
Excellent. Well, I can tell you that there's very interesting, actually. I'm pleased you brought that up, because I haven't gone on about sustainability at all, or where I get my coffee from. Originally, when we started, I was obsessed with going out to Sri Lanka for 6 weeks holidays. I haven't been able to do that since, really, which is a shame. But I thought, well, it would be great to source coffee from Sri Lanka. So I ended up importing probably about, I think it was about 3.5 tons of coffee from Sri Lanka. I managed to find someone on the coffee trail deep in the mountains, this tiny little plantation that had become an experimental plantation, really. Probably not selling the best coffee, not producing the best coffee. It was a hybrid coffee. But anyway, by hook or crook, I managed to get a friend of mine to help me with the import, and we imported all this coffee from Sri Lanka. And it was full of nails and stones and all sorts of weird stuff. Lots of broken beans, not terribly good looking coffee. And I had to de-stone everything with our de-stoner machine, which is in the corner behind me at the moment. I haven't had to use it since, which is quite relieving. But anyway, we imported that coffee from Sri Lanka and did a direct import from there, which I wouldn't do again, to be honest. I was still obsessed with importing directly from farmer. And it was about 3 years later that I imported our first shipment of coffee from Nicaragua, because I really like Nicaraguan coffee. And again, that was direct from source and direct from farmer through a Christian trust at the time called the Peace and Hope Trust. I'd made friends with one of the reverends from that. Funnily enough, at the London Coffee Festival at the time, he came up to me and he brought he'd brought the farmer over with him, Ernesto, and he was introduced to me, and I said, oh, I'd love to come out and see your plantation. And I did. They took me out to see the plantation. Well, I met them at the airport, and I was chaperoned around by the vicar and his wife, which was quite fun. And we did our first import. In actual fact, he was the treasurer for the Peace and Hope Trust and handled the whole thing brilliantly, and it was amazing. And we had our first import from Nicaragua, but it was a huge dent on cash flow. It cost us about £15,000 to do that, and it was a huge strain on the business at the time because I wasn't earning an awful lot of money. Even though I was desperate to continue with this direct import from farmer, it was everything that would seem so important to me. And being such a small business at the time and not being terribly successful, it probably wasn't the wisest thing to do, but it still looked great for us. It sounded good when I said to people, a third of our coffee comes directly from farmer. Anyway,
Gerald, I must apologise. I was the chap that told you to get lost at the station.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
A couple of times because
I recognise your face now.
I'm quite happy to come and have a free one from you, and then you can convert me to drinking
Okay. What are you drinking at the moment? I'm very curious.
Well, I have had a coffee, but I've been up since 6.
You haven't had an instant coffee, have you?
Does that will I get excluded from the club if I've had it instant?
Well, I would be worried. I'd be very worried about your ongoing health conditions and all the things that it can do to you. I have to say, it's not benefiting you to have an instant coffee.
Apparently, it keeps my tan up. That's what the surgeon said. Because I'm British, but I got a tan, and apparently it's the instant coffee that does it. And I've had 3. I've been for a swim.
Rub it on yourself.
I've been for a swim for 45 minutes. I've actually had my second vaccine at Lights.
That's
and I
good.
went and sat out in the high street.
Yeah.
Is it the Blue Onion?
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I had a nice bacon roll.
Did you have a cigarette?
No, I don't smoke.
Oh, everyone smokes the Blue Onion though.
Yeah. Well, and then I was sitting there, and 4 people came, all said hello, Aubrey, and I didn't know who the bloody hell they were.
Yeah.
And 2 of them sat down, and I bought them coffees.
Oh, bless you.
Farmers.
That was.
Well,
Yeah, I haven't been into the Blue Onion for a long time, but I do remember you have to walk through a swathe of cigarette smoke before you get in.
Yeah, so
very helpful.
They're all oldies that go there apparently.
Yeah.
Yes, so I fitted in quite well, but
Good.
But no, I'm quite happy to come. You can convert me. I'll come and say hello.
Excellent. I look forward to converting you, Aubrey. You'll have to come in, and we'll get high together. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
You definitely have to go swimming afterwards.
If I converted to natural coffee, you might not recognise me because the tan will have gone.
Okay, all right. I'll bear that seriously in mind.
And
I
think
see, actually, Nigel has said that peace and hope every time. So he's obviously well converted your beautiful coffee.
Well, it's a good round cup. It's good. It's good with the milk. And I think most people still drinking coffee with milk or with oat milk. Or, but again, it's so important. It doesn't matter what I've done. If it's being made badly and the grind isn't right and they haven't tamped it correctly and the barista's not top of their game, you can get an insipid peace and hope. So, or if the milk has been burnt, and there's still many outlets out there, you know, where that's happens now and again. I think even if you go to some of the big multinationals and you can get a coffee, I won't mention any names particularly, that Greek sort of gentleman's name particularly, that's one, you can get a cappuccino or latte and it doesn't actually taste of anything, and that's probably down to the fact that the grind isn't right. The barista hasn't really been taking much attention, so it's critical. I'm only the first step. I try and make sure that my bit is correct, the roasting and the sourcing of the good quality coffees. That's really important. But then there's so many more pitfalls that can happen after me that need also to be.
And a good coffee always tastes better with a good story, Gerald.
It does, doesn't it? You know, that's so true. I think the story is actually more important than the coffee now, to be honest. And I think that's as important for me now as it is. It's a very good point you've raised there, as it is for the farmer. When I'm buying coffee from Colombia, and I don't direct import from Colombia, probably because I'd be shot if I went out there to meet the farmer or kidnapped or something like that. I get it from a North Yorkshireman called John Frater, which is bizarre. And he's a real adventurer, this guy. He's about 60. He's married to a really attractive Colombian lady who's about 51, 52. They're both plant eaters. They don't eat any meat. And she speaks perfect English, having spent most of her life in the States. Now, being a North Yorkshireman, he can go with his Colombian wife into the red zone, which is where all of our Colombian coffee comes from. It's where they grow the cocaine. It's a pretty dangerous part to go to. But it's also a very, very remote part of the Colombian Andes Mountains where they have all these little micro farms, really, of 5 or 6 hectares, family-run businesses, which are all 100% organic because they really couldn't afford to buy fertilizer and use it on their farms. So that's another reason why it's organic. And he can go there into the red zone and he doesn't get shot. And also there's another Agrichem, which is another, I guess, charity organization that can also go there. But if I was to go there, it would be probably curtains for me, and my family would not pay my ransom. So I don't. So I get coffee from him, and I only get coffee from John, because when he supplies me with the coffee, for instance, I bought 3 bags very recently from Maria Trujillo. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And she has 6 children. Her husband recently died. And I took half of her harvest, which was 3 36-kilo bags. Great coffee. I really love it. It's fantastic in the filter. It's a Colombian single origin. It's been lovingly produced. It's organic. And when I finished that coffee, which I've almost finished this batch, and I'm going to order some more from him, I can then send out some money directly to Maria's bank account from myself, so that she knows where her coffee has gone to. And it's as interesting for her to know where her coffee is going as it is for me to find out where my coffee is coming from. So you then have this transparent trade, which is just as good as a direct trade. And it also keeps the farmer on their toes, because they want to keep ensuring that they keep producing great coffee for Gerald and Peaberry Coffee roasters, because they're so kind they sent them out some extra money. You know, even if it's £150 or 200 quid that I send her, that's a month's wages. That's a month of sustaining her family and being able to live an easier life.
I think that's really lovely. You know, and it shows an interaction with the world on a great level.
I think so. I'm only doing that with Colombia at the moment, which is a shame. But that's where I specialize in Colombia. I love Colombian coffee, so I'm making a point of that at the moment. I should shout about it.
Yeah, they do mix cocaine and marijuana in their soil. That always helps.
Yeah, well, that's why my coffee's so addictive, you see.
Yeah, that's why it keeps you awake. That's half the
that's
ingredient. It's not the caffeine in it. It's actually
It's the cocaine, notes of cocaine.
and it makes you feel good.
I can see that Jude has said something you said one time. I got coffee from different regions.
Yes.
So is there a seasonal thing and a regional thing about flavors?
Brilliant point, Jude. Brilliant point to raise, because if you're an importer, for instance, you know, if you can, there seems to be a lot of people importing coffee from Colombia, a lot of which is nowhere near as good as the stuff I'm getting, which is actually the truth. I'm not just saying that. I've had a look at various samples from other importers. And the reason why Colombia, for instance, is such a popular place to import or be an importer from is they have an amazing, unique microclimate where they can produce about 3 crops a year from their plantations. There could be a farmer in one valley sort of next door who's drying his coffee, whereas the adjacent farmer might just be sort of still ripening his cherries. It's really got this amazing microclimate out there where they can bring over probably three good shipments a year from Colombia. So if you're an importer, Colombia is really the intelligent place to go. If you were importing coffee from Burundi, for instance, I've just bought 4 bags of really nice Burundi Masenga. That's got to last me through till next January, because I won't be able to get any more till next January. So if you're a Burundi importer, for instance, or you know, you import from somewhere like Ethiopia, another really good place where I like to get coffee from, you're once a year import, really. So you've got to make sure that you can get enough coffee to sustain you throughout the year. It's going to make you enough money before you can do your next import.
Yeah, I think Jude's also said, following on from different regions, it was about highlands and lowlands and different strengths.
Yes. Another thing, going back to Colombia again, the coffee over there is particularly hard. It's at a really high altitude. It's probably sort of around 2,500 meters. A lot of the plantations, they're really high up. That makes it a strictly hard bean or an SHB coffee, or strictly high grown coffee, or SHG, sorry. So when I address it in the roaster, I address that coffee very differently as if I was compared to if I was buying coffee from Brazil, which again, it's probably grown at about half that altitude, sort of 1,200 meters. The good Brazils are grown at, and they're a lot softer. They perform very differently in the roaster, and have a very different flavor as well. It's all about terroir. You know, the volcanic soil that they might be growing in. Some of these coffees are grown on the sides of volcanoes, and that has a big impact on flavor. If you were buying coffee from Brazil or Central South America, it's going to taste very, very differently to if you suddenly decided to go to Southeast Asia, go to Indonesia, for instance, and drink coffee from there. There's a real distinct difference in flavor. You can tell an Indonesian coffee straight away. You can tell the difference between that and a Colombian and a Brazilian. You really can. It doesn't take very long to discern the difference in the flavors.
That's very interesting. I see Nick's just apologizing there, saying that, you know, he's got to follow certain criteria, so that's why he's not actually there, but he's listing away, I'm sure. And also you're quite good with your ethical considerations with packaging.
Have we got any packets there?
And you tend to recycle your bags and things, don't you?
If it's local, I try to do coffee in a 6 kilogram water container here. So what happens is, you know, if I'm delivering to a pub up the road, whatever, they ring me up and they say, "Oh, Gerald, our bucket is empty." I know it's not such a good terminology, and I whiz over and deliver them a fresh bucket or a fresh container. So they're buying 6 kilos at a time. They can just tip it into the hopper when they need to make their coffee. And it is plastic, I agree, which is not great, but that particular container is going to be used hundreds of times, hopefully. And it just...
So you reuse that plastic. It doesn't get wasted.
Also, it's better for me. I make more profit then, because I'm not paying for a bag, which are really expensive. These little bags, believe it or not. These are compostable. If I can get the bottom of it open, you can see.
Is that the little bags and the big bags?
All my packaging is compostable. It's kind of a pain in the arse a little bit because it creases very easily, and so they can look very shabby very quickly, especially when I'm bagging the coffee. So I try not to bag too much coffee. I leave that to Victoria in the background, making noise. That's all right, Victoria. You're being quite quiet, really. But it's got a little breather hole at the top, so a little valve there. So once you've roasted the coffee, it tends to off gas. A lot of gas comes out, a lot of CO2 comes out, so that stops the bag exploding. But yeah, I do feel quite good that the packaging we're using now is sustainable. It doesn't matter.
That's amazing.
If you bury it in the garden, it genuinely does pretty much disappear after about 3.5 months. I've put one in there.
Can I ask, we've actually got several people here that are involved with food and drinks. So we've got Simon from Pear Tree Sales and Procurement. Nigel makes the most beautiful curries, and got wood-fired pizzas coming.
Great.
Is coffee like wine? Oh, we've also got Jane Bernson, the caterer. She's actually one of our NBN members.
Excellent. Okay.
If you have a curry, for example, and you have all your different types, or your different types of pizzas with the different kinds of seasoning, or if you've had a lovely evening and you've had all your fabulous drinks from Simon and places that he supplies like Roseborn, is there a better choice of coffee? Is it like wine where you say, oh, this one goes particularly well with, after you've had your curry, or this one goes particularly well after you've had an evening on the wine?
It's got to be Peaberry coffee, obviously, for obvious reasons. That would be my first choice. Always ask them, are you using Peaberry coffee wherever you go? And if they're not, then you should sort of, I'm not sure if I want to risk it. Having just been out to dinner for the first time in about 1.5 years, last weekend, we went to the Fox at Crawley, which was lovely. Had a nice meal there, and at the end of the meal, around about 11 o'clock, I was asked if I'd like a coffee, and I was always a little bit wary about having a coffee because I've just had this lovely meal, and I want to make sure I'm going to have a nice espresso that doesn't foul up my palate, which has happened in the past. The Chesil Rectory was another one I went to just before lockdown, where I had this wonderful meal and then I had the most filthy espresso afterwards. And that, of course, greatly affects the gratuity I leave at the end of the meal as well. If I've had a terrible coffee afterwards, I tend to reflect that in the gratuity that I leave. And I tell them as well, it's important they should know that either they poured it terribly badly, but usually it's quite often it's a case of the roaster not having really roasted the coffee carefully, and maybe under roasted. I've had a few of those, but I would go for an espresso. That would be definitely what I'd go for, a short pour espresso just to settle the gut after you've had a good meal. It doesn't seem to keep me awake, which is a good thing, so I can still get home and slumber.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions that anyone would like to ask Gerald whilst we've got him trapped here and got his full attention? Tyra.
Hi, Sue. Yes, sorry, I'm sitting at more than arm's length from this little laptop, which is making it awkward to put things in chat. I do apologise. Gerald, that's really fascinating, and I have, I think, walked past a couple of places with Peaberry Coffee in, and the person I've been with has said Oh, that Peaberry, that's really, really good.
Oh.
The thing is, I then, with the live smelly, don't know where to get it from. So I'm sorry you possibly said, but I know you're at Basepoint. Do you sell out of Basepoint, or is there anywhere else you sell from?
We sell online, which is probably the best place to get it if you don't come in and see us directly. You can buy it on Amazon. That's exciting. And please do buy some on Amazon if you do get a chance, and then leave a lovely review for me, because I need a few more reviews on that to get that search engine going.
Yeah.
And you can also buy it in the Abbotsand Village shop. They're quite good.
Oh, I'm not far from there now.
Yeah, but to be honest, if I was you, and if I lived within the local area, and I knew that, well, hopefully that there was a really good roaster locally nearby who was passionate about what he did and did all of the roasting himself, then I'd probably pop in and grab a fresh bag directly from me. Yeah, if you get the chance to get out and leave your screens, or get a chance to leave work, pop in and grab a bag. We'll also always offer a free tasting before you buy.
And Emma has asked what times you're open.
Oh gosh, Emma. I'm a bit of an old hippie, but I try to get here always by 8:30 in the morning, but quite often I'm here earlier, and I'm always here till 3:30, and often later. So you'll always get me between 8:30 and 3:30 guaranteed. There'll be somebody here to see you. And that's Monday to Friday. Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, I think I should just mention, having just noticed my very dear friend Mr. Crutchley has joined us. Okay, we must just quickly talk about his chocolate, or he should say something about his chocolate.
Oh, is that the chocolate man?
It is. It is. Now, I have won an awful lot of business through selling his chocolate, believe it or not. Very frustratingly, but we won't take your coffee, Gerald. We're still very happy with our roaster. But we do love your hot chocolate, and that's quite often been the case. Then about a year later, they finally succumb and they start taking my coffee. But yes, and of course, Chris Enjoy is Andover based. Isn't that amazing? So we've not just got the best coffee in Andover, we've also got the best chocolate, and it's just so rare, Chris's chocolate. Cannot go on
I'm
about.
loving this. This is really good. Welcome, Chris. I'm Susan.
Coffee is also the best, Gerald.
I've got him addicted now. So
when I met Gerald about 5-6 years ago, I used to hate coffee. I never used to drink it, and now I drink it. Not too much.
Fantastic.
I only drink Gerald coffee because he has one particular coffee, El Mirador, which is an organic Colombian coffee that he makes it filter for me. It is the best coffee that I've ever.
And where are you located, Chris? Is it up on the Picket Piece?
Yeah, with the commercial centre.
Yeah, and you do free samples, don't you?
Free samples.
I tend to get all of those, actually, a lot of them.
I've knocked on the door there. I couldn't go past your shop actually without and I did obviously months ago, and it was very delicious, I have to say. And I had relatives with me at the time, and they bought quite a bit of your chocolate before they went back to Cambridge.
I can bet. Sorry,
your I think your microphone's set a little bit quiet. Having a little bit trouble hearing you. I don't know if anyone else is.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that any better?
A bit better.
Any better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. And you do quite a variety, don't you? All made there on the premises, yes?
Yes, it's all organic, it's all vegan, and all the 14 main allergens, your gluten, your dairy, fish, that sort of thing, nuts. We don't have any of that in our product either. So.
Oh, that's lovely.
I didn't quite hear whereabouts you are, Chris. Sorry, Picket Piece where?
Commercial centre.
Commercial centre.
Okay. Thank you.
My apologies, I don't know why the microphone's not working very well.
You can also buy it from Peaberry Coffee. Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't realise that.
Or the hot
I've been in there obviously several times. Obviously, I was too busy looking at your beautiful chameleon logo to know if it's anything else.
Yeah.
Well, that's been incredibly interesting. Oh, look, one of the lovely new tote bags.
Yeah.
That is the most beautiful artwork.
It is good, isn't it? He's very good.
Yes. Yeah.
Branding is so
excellent.
important. Yes.
Oh, well, that's been so interesting, Gerald. Is there any other questions left from anybody?
I was going to ask a quick one, Gerald.
Yes.
I obviously kindly sorted me out some decaf coffee a few weeks back, as it was now. I did pick up a cafetiere, or whatever you call them, because as I said, I'm not really a coffee drinker. I couldn't get I've tried a few, and I haven't been able to sort of get the mix right, if you like. How much sort of coffee should I be doing, the equivalent of a cup? Because one minute I was blowing my head off, the next minute it was too weak. So is there a
Have you got a small one? A little?
Yeah, just I think it does like 4 or 6 cups, something along those lines.
Okay.
Measuring out into smaller, you know, what would be a couple of cups rather than filling it up. It's only me trying it. Either one way or the other, really, it went.
If you're doing half a cafetiere, I should do more of this, really, and that's how to make coffee, because I think people need to understand there is definitely a methodology when making a cup of coffee. Even a simple thing like a French press or cafetiere. I would put, if I was doing your one, which is a 4 to 6 cupper, I'd probably put 35 grams into the cafetiere of coffee grinds, a nice coarse grind. I then boil my kettle, and once that's boiled, leave it to just sit for a few minutes so it doesn't burn the coffee when I pour it directly onto the grinds. I then pour the hot water onto the grinds, fill it up to sort of near the top, then leave it for 2 minutes. And then I get a spoon and give it a vigorous stir for about 15 seconds. And I'll leave it another 2 minutes, and you need to be looking at the clock all this time. You've got to be checking out your clock, your time. It's really important. You've got to be really anal about it. It is important. And then I'd have another container nearby, or coffee pot or teapot, and I decant the whole lot into that pot, okay, and then put a cozy on it or something like that, so that you're not continuously brewing your coffee. Otherwise, you pour your first cup out and it's delicious, then you go back about 20 minutes later and you've got a really bitter tasting cup of coffee. So making that cafetiere, very important. About 4 minutes in total, shouldn't be any longer, and a vigorous stir after 2, okay? And if you're just doing half a pot, then maybe 15 grams or something.
Right, yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay.
You'll just have to drink lots and lots so that you get the mix right, Simon.
Yeah.
I looked up on YouTube, but to be fair, it didn't really help me much. Everyone was saying different things. So
I know.
Firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm addicted to my pour over at the moment. Does anybody do a pour over? Anyone here a pour over freak? No. That's probably the most delicious way to drink coffee, I think, which is having a little teapot. Oh God, I haven't got one here. Hang on. Where's the? There we are. So you've got. This is really inexpensive to buy as well. You've got a colita, all right, which you put your filter paper in. You've got a little teapot, okay. You've got another little teapot, and you put your colita on top of your glass teapot, and put your filter paper inside. Can anyone see that? There we are. Okay, so your filter paper's inside there, your glass teapot's below, and then put in about 19.5 grams of coffee, coarse grounds, preferably a lovely Colombian. That's my favorite. And then make sure you've got about 500 mils of water in your pot. Okay, it doesn't matter if you have a bit more, doesn't matter if you have a bit less, it really doesn't make any odds, it'll still taste delicious. And then you literally pour your water in little circles over your coffee, and it's going through a filter paper, so it'll take out all the solids in the coffee. There'll be no bits, it'll be very silky smooth. You'll get all the delicious notes of flavor in the coffee, and that whole process, providing you put in 19.5 grams, providing you've ground it nice and coarse, should take about 4 minutes. Again, about the same as a cafetiere. If it's taking longer than that, your grind's probably a bit too fine, and you've got a delicious coffee. So it's another wonderful meditation to do in the morning. Take 4 minutes out of your day, make yourself something spectacular. to drink, and yeah, great.
I do think the ritual of coffee making, when we first had COVID, I got the boys, my son and my lodger, and I made them sit outside in the sunshine, and we ritualistically sat down and we had a very nice coffee, and we actually did frothy milk and everything, and then we got to decorating the top with like chocolate powder. Your chocolate powder works quite well actually to sprinkle over the top, and it was very calming, sociable. And I've realized here that not only can we do curries and drinks and coffee, you get your after dinner chocolates obviously from Chris, so that sounds like we're very, very food themed today. But well, Gerald, that was great.
Yeah, thank you. It's just so important, I think, to keep Andover's standards high. And I'm desperate to talk to Curryman. Where's Curryman gone? Wave your hand.
This is Nigel.
Nigel, I keep seeing stuff about what you're doing on Instagram. You're doing stuff on Instagram, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
You do, yeah. So, but I've been meaning to get in contact.
I'll drop your menu up later on today.
Please do, because I'm a curry freak. I love my curry. I absolutely do. So that would be great. And yours look particularly good. So that would be wonderful. But yeah,
tastes nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
We want more, we want quality. That's what it's all about.
Yes, I think that is definitely the key to anything we do, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Quality and value for money. So definitely. It's been brilliant, Gerald. Thank you so much. Thanks, so what we do now with our meetings is we just let everybody have a turn at saying who they are, what they do, so that you can hopefully make, you know, mutually beneficial connections. And we've got some lovely people that come along regularly, and thank you for being here today. We are recording because there's some that were desperate to see what you do and hear what you have to say, Gerald, so we have recorded today. So we'll kick off actually. Simon, would you like to go first?
Yeah, of course. I think most people on here know who I am. Obviously Simon Prosser, and I started my business back in October. I've named it Pear Tree Sales and Procurement. No one really wanted to talk. You know, they didn't know whether they were still going to be in business come, you know, at the end of lockdown. No one knew when that was. Predominantly my UK base is London, but I am now starting to focus on some more local areas, you know, sort of the Stockbridge and some of the villages, and the country hotels that potentially we can sell into. So really selling a portfolio of products, and they can order, you know, from the whole range, minimum order value, because it's all trade again, it's sort of £750. But with that, they can order chocolate, drinks, you know, crisps, snacks, whatever it might be. So that's going really well. Export wise, I've picked up some really good accounts, which I've been really pleased with. There's been some massive hurdles to overcome since the Brexit scenario in January. It has a massive impact on what I was doing or planned or started to do for Europe. Road freight is doubled since then, with lots of headache with our lovely French partners, customs and things. Anything for European road goes through France, so it's all a bit of a headache. And there's also a global shipping crisis going on as well to overcome, so it's very challenging, but I am managing to sell. I've had some really good conversations over the last couple of weeks, and very excitingly for me, because my background was water, and strange enough I'm still selling lots of it. I've been working in collaboration or partnership with the HT group, and we've actually developed our own brand.
Oh, wonderful.
So yeah, I'm really excited. It's sort of targeted really at a sort of part of the world that I was hoping or will hopefully sell a decent volume into. But we've named it Eaton Ridge. I don't know if you can see that. If I hold it at my camera, is the light too bad? I can see it sort of reflecting. The blue one might be better.
Like that looks nice.
Yeah.
Very tasteful, very tasteful.
Yeah. So that's being produced in a ethically produced glass bottle in the UK. made from around at least 45% recycled glass, and it's got that stamped on the shoulder of the bottle as an embossment, UK made, etc. So strange enough, I've actually pitched that yesterday, and it looks like I might have had my first account for that. So
Yeah.
I'm fully involved with it, concept wise. Helped to choose the source. It's being produced in Mid Wales, a very well regarded source, very neutral in composition and taste, analysis and everything else. And they've been producing for 30 years for different companies, mainly white label as they call it. So what you buy in supermarkets under their own brand, these guys are producing a lot of that. So yeah, very excited to have potentially seeing a product that I've sort of brought to fruition, you know, out in the trade and seeing it firsthand.
That's fantastic.
And yeah, no, I'm really pleased with it. And like I say, hopefully I can now sort of start having local conversations. I've got a couple of side products that I pitched some Chris to Gerald a little while back. So hopefully when he gets his cafe up and running, we might have a buyer there. And there's a company called The World of Zing, which are pre-batch cocktails. So currently locally, the only place you can get that is Roseborns. But I'm in advanced contractual stages now for decent sized supply into a very high-end retailer and restaurant group based out of mainly Heathrow terminals. So again, once the airports get up and running, probably more from the 17th of May onwards, I'm hoping that, you know, I get some decent sales, and it's, you know, mainly commission driven. You know, I have my service charge, and then sort of what I'm earning and what I'm up to will be sort of dependent on how successful I am. But it feels nice being your own boss for a while, to be honest. It's challenging but rewarding, you know.
Yeah, well done for, you know, still being alive. I mean, there's so much.
That's also a bonus.
So much change and everything, and I think you've worked hard, haven't you, to do your work-life balance and get that right.
Definitely.
You know, I think you've done very, very well. How are you feeling?
Yeah, positive. Yeah, I mean, like I say, the conversations I'm now having in the last 2 or 3 weeks are far, you know, I see far more positive in regards to what they were. You know, even though people are open for outdoor space, they all seem to be fully booked, come rain or shine. You know, all eagerly waiting for the 17th when we can, you know, invite people inside. You know, and because of the sort of type of clientele that I have, that I've serviced and I know quite well in the past, you know, the people that I'm representing seem very keen because, you know, they're names that they can set off the back of. You know, the deal that I'm putting together for Heathrow, and like I say, we're about to get the signature on the paper now. You know, that's one that, you know, is going to be splashed around social media, and we can shout about. So you know, if you don't follow me on the social. I'm actually going to be putting some posts up, you know, helping to get my name out there for Eaton Ridge and the collaboration, and the World of Zing, when that gets over the line with this premium venue, that would also go out, and, you know, we'll all be promoting it.
That's wonderful.
So look out for that. So yeah, feeling very positive. Love the work-life balance. You know, if I need to go and do something and spend some time with a family or do whatever, you know, you can take an hour down and do that, and know that you can catch up in the evening, you know, or whatever needs to take place, really.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Simon. Really glad things are going well. Nick, would you like to introduce yourself and say a few things about what you do?
Sue, I'm terribly sorry, but if it's going public, I can't do that.
Okay, what we'll do, we'll stop recording briefly so that you can tell those that are here what we're up to. So I'm just going to pause the. Okay, we're back on again. Aubrey, would you like to go next?
I've forgotten what I did listening to all Gerald's stories. It put me in a different place. But I'm Aubrey Smith. What do I do? I've got a hearing clinic. So it's more vocational than business, which is very rewarding at my stage of life. And we do wax removals, we do hearing care, and we have fun doing it. And unfortunately, whether I want to get busier or not, I tend to get busier because lots of people like to come back. I don't know why, but they, and we look after people for life. So that's always a positive. I don't tell them that until they've paid me, and then they've got me for life. And so, yeah, we've got a clinic, we're growing, we'll be expanding in due course, but I'm not in any rush to do that. So, yeah, we've got a clinic on Salisbury Road. And we get out and about, and I think it's quite nice now because we sponsor events at the leisure centre and the lights, and eventually they get back on, golf clubs. And if there's any local charities or fairs, we like to get ourselves out just for the fresh air. And I've had to pay quite a lot for my gazebo, so I pop it up everywhere I can. And then I try to get people in to come and help me so they can man the stall and I can wander around and enjoy the shows. But unless someone can't hear, then I have to get involved. But yes, Smith's Hearing Care, looking after the local community.
Lovely. And you do support a lot of the other businesses and show a great interest in supporting everything, which is lovely. And you sort out my mum's ears, and I can thoroughly recommend you.
Yes, and she always comes and says, "What do I owe you, Aubrey?" And I say, "Just a hug." Yeah.
She's got a credit in the hugs.
Yeah, well, yeah, apparently, yeah. Watch out. Never mind. But obviously, the people I look after can't hear and they can't see very well, so I get away with it. But,
and I think you usually are open, isn't it, sort of 3 days, but you're very flexible, because I know that some people have rung you up and then you've seen them within 2 hours.
Susan, we're talking about business here, not walking in the woods, are we?
No. I'm sure Jude will tell us all about walking in the woods.
Are you recording this or what? No, yeah, no. The clinic's open 6 days a week. It is at the end. It is at the back of my house. If the gates are closed, you can't come in. But if somebody needs me, they're flying out on a Monday, I'll do it on a Sunday. So I am flexible. Obviously, we've been going here for 3 years. After my military service of 33 years, I went into the hearing world in 2012. Helped my brother until he passed away, and then I worked for some other companies, and I've set up here. So it's we can manage on 2 days a week, but I'm sort of open when people need
Wonderfully
me.
Flexible. I think that's the bottom line, isn't it? And you're obviously feeling quite positive.
Am I? That's nice of you to say.
Sounding positive.
All right. Oh, okay. Well, I'll be positive then. I'm going to go and see a grumpy old surgeon at 12 o'clock. His daughter said, "Dad needs to see you, Aubrey. We do apologise for him being grumpy, and he doesn't like paying you. So if he doesn't pay you, just tell us and we'll transfer the money." I said, no, I'm very happy to go and see grumpy old buggers, because then I'll learn not to be one. And I'll go say, "I'm very pleased. I've learned so much from you, sir, today. I'm going to learn now from you how not to be a grumpy old bugger." I'll get a smile from it. And then
well, good luck with that. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Kim, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you for a fascinating talk, Gerald. I have to admit to not being a huge coffee drinker, but having tried a mug of your Peace and Hope coffee this morning, I think you may well have made a convert. So thoroughly enjoyable. I really liked it. As most people know, I wear 2 hats. My previous career was as an executive PA in large companies. I still do PA work on a part-time basis for a landscape architect locally, which I thoroughly enjoy, and it's good to be back at work again and getting a regular income after the last few months. That's been a bit of a challenge, but it's all back on track now, which is lovely. My other hat is with Serendipity Vintage, and I have pitches, coincidentally, one at Whitewick Vintage, which is just down the sort of row of shops from you, Gerald, with Rebecca in managing that one. I've got a cabinet there, And I also have a larger pitch out at the Delta Works under the Ancient and Modern umbrella out at Shipton Bellinger. I'm delighted to say that things finally seem to be picking up after a really, really dry spell. I've had sales at both pitches over the last week or so, which is encouraging. And so that's good. It's nice to see. It's nice to have some money coming in on that front as well, which then in turn enables me, when one can, to go out sort of on the treasure hunt to find new goodies for everybody and hopefully, you know, get some turnover in stock going. On the personal front, yeah, it's been a pretty positive week, which is good. As some people know, I'm thrilled to have had the front of my house, the front garden cleared and fenced off, and that's all looking good. So that was a good positive step, something I've wanted to do for a long time. And yes, on the whole, things are moving in the right direction. Second COVID vaccination next week, which is good and comforting. It'd be nice to get that done. And yeah, on the whole, things are moving in the right direction. So that's all good. Thank you.
Wonderful to hear that. Thank you so much, Kim. And Lucy, would you like to go next? I can see curries, drinks, chocolate, holidays.
It's a great selection, isn't it? No, it's a good selection. Yeah, thank you so much, Gerald. That was really interesting, really fascinating story. And I love that you're approaching, you know, directly from those farmers. I think it's amazing. But yeah, just to tell you about myself, I have my own travel business for a company called Travel Counsellors. I work on my own, but I'm supported by my head office who, you know, negotiate all the rates and everything. We have a great, what's the word? I've started a way that I wasn't going to go, so I'm going to go back the way I was going to go. I'm able to book all sorts of travel, all aspects of travel. Just to give you an idea of the things that I'm working on at the moment, I'm doing a tailor-made itinerary around the Scottish Highlands, visiting all the whisky distilleries, which really interestingly, Scotland has been, you know, so sought after as a destination. So I'm doing, yeah, a couple of itineraries in Scotland. You know, the Maldives, I've got lots of people that are interested in traveling to the Maldives later this year. I'm able to sell, you know, flights only, honeymoons, all aspects. So, you know, if there's anything that anyone's considering doing, do get in touch, because, you know, the best thing about being a travel counsellor is that it's me you speak to. I'm at the end of the phone, and all my clients, I give my mobile number so they can WhatsApp me whenever they need to. Rather than being, you know, on hold for hours. I've had a lot of people contacting me over the last few months asking, you know, if I can help them, because they just can't get through to the suppliers that they need to, you know, to give them the updates of, you know, whether or not they're actually going to be able to travel. So I'm always there, you know, to keep you updated with what's going on. And hopefully 17th of May, fingers crossed, some people, you know, lots of people will be able to travel.
That will be great. I think a lot of people are really hoping and saying one thing everybody does need is a holiday, really. So
I know, we were so lucky. Last summer we were so lucky with the weather, so let's hope, you know, if people aren't happy to travel abroad, that we do get a good summer again this year, fingers crossed.
I expect that you're quite tired, because I think you have had a lot of inquiries suddenly, haven't you?
Yeah.
But, things have come back to life in your industry very powerfully.
I think so. I think people are starting to become a bit more sort of confident. You know, not everybody wants to go abroad. I've had lots of families inquire about the UK. The cottages in August, you know, are very hard to come across now. But, you know, there are still possibilities for families. I've got a group of 10 that are going to the Peak District, you know, in like a lodge, a holiday lodge, not your holiday park, but more of your sort of forest holiday. So yeah, I've got quite a few things going on at the moment with, you know, and like Simon and other people, you know, we're able to work around our families. So my core hours are sort of between school time, you know, when my 3 children are at school. But, you know, if I get an inquiry and I need to work on it in the evening, you know, I'm always, you know, flexible in that sense as well. So yeah, I'm pretty much here all the time.
Brilliant, brilliant. So things are going fairly well, with the promise of lots and lots of lovely work coming. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Thanks, Susan.
Nigel, would you like to go next? It's nice to see you. I know you've been ever so busy and you have your fingers in so many pies. Off you go. We need to unmute you first, though.
Well, you don't have to.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning. Yes, I've not been around for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's been really, really busy. Private landlords have to let properties electrically inspected and tested before the 1st of April. And they've known it was coming, but they've not done anything with it. So it's been really kind of full on trying to get all this done after the time. But we're almost there, so things should settle down a little bit, hopefully. But obviously, you're doing the inspections, then there's remedial works to do. So yes, it's been manic, really busy electrically. Curry wise, I can't do too much because, unfortunately, to do the volumes that I was doing, it makes the house smell. Yeah, makes the smell of the curry linger for too long, and it's not fair on Kim and Phoebe to come home to keep smelling it like it is. So I tend to do stuff every 3 to 4 weeks for family and friends. Until I can find commercial space to work from, it's kind of really difficult to progress it any further. Pizza, wood-fired pizza is another thing that we're working on. We've pre-ordered a custom-built catering trailer, which will primarily be for wood-fired pizza. But there will be a griddle to do, bacon and sausages and stuff for equestrian kind of events. And there'll be a couple of curry burners there as well. So hopefully I can have my own portable space that I can work the curries from on a more regular basis than just every now and again when I can.
That sounds great. I think you need to come and practice your offerings when you get that complete on my drive. So if you wouldn't mind.
I'm sure your neighbours would love that.
Do you know what? I'm absolutely sure they would. Some of them, anyway.
Yeah, sure they would. Yeah. So it's all go. All is good. Yeah, that's it.
You're still investigating the possibility of the book.
The Charlie Crowley book was published November 19. It's still selling okay. I've still got some left. COVID unfortunately got in the way. Our main source of sales of books would have been the Blackpool Museum, which was due to open in the spring last year. That's now been put back to spring next year. Once the museum opens, we will have a regular place to sell the books. But until then, it's just there's not a lot I can do other than with Amazon and eBay. And then the only other thing regarding the book is we're still in talks with the production company who want to turn the biography of Charlie Crowley into a feature film. So we're just waiting for the COVID to disappear a little bit more before we can start some meetings with them to get the ball rolling and hopefully get this film up onto the big screen.
That'd be very, very exciting. Very exciting. So you're probably feeling quite tired as well.
No, things are okay at the moment. We've actually got a couple of cruises finally booked, which is great. As you know, my wife runs a cruise business, and she's managed to book us onto the new Virgin ship to do a staycation around the UK for 4 nights without Phoebe, which would be nice just to get some time on our own. And then we literally, come off the ship on the Monday, and I think we're boarding the Disney ship for 4 nights to take Phoebe on one of these Disney cruises. But it all depends how much money Mickey Mouse and his cronies want for these cruises. We think the pricing is going to be very, very high.
Fantastic.
All is good.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Nigel. Jude, would you like to unmute yourself and go next?
Hello, good morning everybody, and yeah, Gerald's great presentation, and I can recommend the coffee, and you've reminded me I must come and get some more at some point, so
I look forward to seeing.
yeah. So a question: if someone asks you how you are, what do you normally say? Probably I'm fine, It's normally what we say. And if we do talk about anything that's not quite right, it's probably our physical health rather than our mental health. Well, my company is Cognizant Training. I train people as mental health first aiders, and one of the things that I'm passionate about is getting people to talk more about mental health, to normalise what we say about our mental health. I've got a course at the end of May. It's 4 sessions, starts May the 21st. And if people want to know more about that, please let me know. And on the back of the mental health first aid training, myself and a team, Aubrey included, have set up a campaign, Walk and Talk for Mental Health. And the premise being that getting out in the fresh air, talking is good for your mental health. And also if people have things that they want to offload or talk about, we have trained mental health first aiders who can walk with them. I'm also in training because at some point I'm going to be walking from Land's End to John O'Groats to promote the campaign.
Shred it. What do it?
And
at the door, please.
Yeah. So that's me, Jude Price, Cognizant Training. Thank you.
Lovely. And I had a very nice walk with Jude and Aubrey recently. I think have I been to 3 of the walk and talks?
Yeah.
And it is lovely, you know, with all the strains and stresses of life, to just go out with other people and be able to say whatever you like to say, really. It is pretty essential, and I'm so glad that we've got something like that locally. And it's really good what you're doing, you know, to raise the profile of the Samaritans. And I think mental health first aid is just amazing. You know, I don't know why it's never happened before in workplaces. I think what you're doing is really valuable, and that's good.
I actually did it, learned to listen a little bit. And when I go walking, I put my hearing aids in, I listen to Elvis, walk a bit quick, and I don't have to listen to all their problems. So that works. And if they have got problems, I up the pace. They get out of breath and they can't tell you, but they've had it. And all counts, doesn't it?
He says that, but he's the first one to pick up his ears if he thinks there's something you want to offload. He's always very good. And they were very sympathetic when I couldn't walk down a bank. A really steep bank. They will go on the terrain that is needed for the slowest walker, or if you've got balance problems or whatever, then they are very considerate companions on a walk.
But do remember,
that's really good, Jude. Thank you.
If you're business people and you're coming on board, bring a contribution or I'll tease you the whole way around. and we are engaging the military to help with the long walk, because unfortunately there's a couple of nice ladies organising it, and I thought if they do it they'll end up in bloody Wales instead of Scotland. So I've got the military to help them with map reading, feeding them.
Really good. Going to be quite efficiently done, and Jude is, you know, just completely on it all the time. So thank you so much, Jude. That's brilliant. Tyra, would you like to go next?
Well, thank you very much. And Gerald, thank you for that fascinating talk. And if I could, when I'm at work, which I can't, I'd hot foot it down to see you, but I'll definitely be ordering from Amazon. And I know members of the family who'll be really onto that as well. So thank you very much for that. You're also interesting this morning. Thank you very much. And just very quickly, Lucy, I've just been down to the most wonderful little cottage on the Kent-Sussex border, self-catering, and it was absolute heaven, really. And we're due to go up to Scotland at the end of August, all fingers crossed. So unfortunately, all already sorted out, but certainly We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
I'm back at work in the office, which has been slightly scary, but they've done it very, very well. The office is based at Goodworth, Clapford. We are Access Care, and effectively we're a very local family-run, a very warm and friendly company who provide live-in carers for private individuals at home. That might sound super scary expensive, but actually it's very comparable in a very positive way with going into homes. And you know, the main absolutely important thing is that somebody is staying in their own home. The carers are all absolutely amazing. I'm going to say that, but they truly are, because I'm the main recruiter of carers. So when they're looking for work, they're all self-employed, but we totally support them. I'm the first person they speak to, and they come from all over the world, and they really are a phenomenal group of people, male and female, and they're really, this is their vocation, and they're such wonderful, supportive people. I know it firsthand too, because my mum broke her hip last September. She's 96 years of age. It was the second fall, second the other hip this time. So we tried calling her Bionic Mummy, but she's not, bless her. She's doing incredibly well. But I think the super thing is that this lovely Kate, who looks after her, she's totally in love with her, having not wanted anybody in the house at all. She's now doesn't want to ever be without Kate. So, you know, it's really, really worked well. So as an agency, we totally support both the client and the carer. And we're just there to talk to. If anybody sort of thinks they'd really like just to chat, there's absolutely no commitment. Just find out what it's about, and give us a call. And I'll try and leave my details when I've stretched my arms long enough to leave something in the chat. But as I say, very, very, very much local. But we're all over the country as well. So if you're sort of thinking, oh, mum lives in Kent or somewhere in the Midlands or up north, or dad or anything like that, we can cover that as well. And really a very nice, warm company and wonderful carers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here, Tyra. It's lovely to see you again. And it is reassuring to know that there's care out there for people. I think a lot of us have run the gauntlet of elderly relatives and needed that reassurance, and there should be all the options that you need available, and you're obviously, you know, providing those. That's really good. Alana is last but not least, but just before she kicks off, I will say that Emma, who was here shortly, she's had to go. She's obviously dealing with a client, but Emma is a bookkeeper, for those of you that don't know her. She's got new offices over in Walworth Industrial Estate. She's a very lovely lady. Her daughter works with her, so it's a family business, and I think her sister works with her as well. So, oh, Nigel's just put she's a super bookkeeper. So lovely girl. She's very welcoming if you want to go over. I don't know if she's got your coffee in her kitchen yet, Gerald. It sounds like if she hasn't, she might well consider it after today. So that's fantastic. Just thought I'd give a little shout out for Emma. And we also have, as an NBN member, you can see our NBN members on our website, but we've got an osteopath called Beth, who's also up at Basepoint. So she's near you, Gerald. She's actually on the ground floor near the reception. And I think she does a few days there. I think she's there on a Thursday, which is why she can't be here today. She also does 2 other jobs, so she's a busy girl. And we do have a foot lady and others. So lovely, thank you very much. So Alana, last but not least.
Good morning. Thanks for your talk, Gerald. It was really interesting. I must say I'm very jealous of your and Sue's coffee meditations in the morning. My morning coffee tends to be a quick gulp, and then, you know, sorting out the kids before the school run and everything. But I do like to take my time with my second one. So sort of by around 10ish, I can normally have a nice relaxed cafetiere instead of the manic barely drank one at sort of crack of dawn. yeah, I'm an employment lawyer at Parker Bullen at the top of the High Street in Andover. I have two specialisms, I suppose. I act for employees specialising in discrimination claims. So if they've been discriminated against at work, seek compensation for that and help them get back into the world of work. But from the employer point of view, I specialise in sort of small local businesses and trying to sort of guide those small businesses through the process of sort of growing and starting to take on their first employees, because that can be a really nerve-wracking step. I mean, it's always great to see sole traders growing and progressing and you know, moving forward. But often, I mean, there's been quite a few people in various networking groups that Sue and I are in who are sort of starting to find that actually they're doing really well, but they can't keep up with the business. So at some point, you've got to start thinking about taking somebody else on, which, okay, you've got the recruitment cost and the salary, but if you can increase your output, then it trades off. So, you know, I'm really passionate about our local business community and sort of try to do as much as I can for the businesses in and around Andover. But I mean, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. As I say, it's anything to do with employment or any sort of commercial law, really. Obviously at Parker Bullen, we do offer sort of your full legal services, so all your conveyancing and matrimonial stuff as well, but I'm sort of really involved in the business side of things. Yeah, I've been here about 7 years. I've been doing this about 14 years, I think. But yeah, doing really well. I think this is my first day back in the office. I don't know if you noticed, Sue. But,
I saw it was different.
Yeah, so I think it's the first time I've been back in since March, but that's a lie. I have come in a couple of times to do sort of online hearings and things, but generally I've been trying to stay at home, and I think the way things stay for a little while. I was hoping to pick Emma's brains about the that she mentioned before about Humphrey and Crockett doing the air source heat pumps.
Yeah.
I want to ask her a bit more about those and things, because
build.
Yeah, that's it. Because I think most of you know that as well as sort of being a part-time lawyer, part-time mum, we're trying to build our own house as well. So Ant started his career break and he's sort of cracking on with that. But yeah, the heating side of things, we'll look at that now. But I'll have to give her a call afterwards, because I know that she does a lot of work with them, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. She knows them. I think she knows them inside out, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think she used to work with them, didn't she, a long time ago? But yeah. So I mean, that's all I've got to say about employment law, really. I think I said last week that we're sort of starting to see a slightly. I don't know if it is more positive, but it feels more positive, because for a long time we were dealing with a lot of redundancies, a lot of furlough advice, and a lot of miserable stuff, really, settlement agreements, terminations, and I mean, it has to be done. You know, a lot of the small businesses around here can't, you know, they just couldn't keep everybody on board, and completely understand that. But now we're starting to see the other side, where those employees who have been are sort of starting to bring their tribunal claims, which, I mean, obviously that again is never nice, anybody who's in litigation, but it's good to be able to then sort of help them. And it's, you know, if I'm completely honest, it's just more interesting, it's more enjoyable. Litigation and you know, court hearings and everything is always going to be more interesting than going through sort of procedural redundancies and things. But yeah, generally doing okay.
So it sounds like you're finding things very satisfying, helping people and companies getting their legal advice and doing it all properly. I suppose that's the really important thing, that they get a quality, however bad the situation is or how good. If it's all done properly, there's people can move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big thing, well, with law, but particularly employment law, is it's just being honest and fair, because obviously I advise both employers and employees, never on the same transaction, obviously, but I go back and forth. And you know, a lot of employees will phone up and they say, look, I've been made redundant, I want to sue my employer. But often it's a fair redundancy. It's something that's had to have been done, and there's not actually anything unlawful about it. So you've got to try and, I think a lot of lawyers will sort of see the opportunity for an instruction, take that client on and say, oh gosh, yes, that's awful, you've been made redundant. Let's sue your employer. But actually, you know, if they're not entitled to bring that claim, then they're going to end up spending a bomb in legal fees and not really get anywhere. So I think whether you're the employer or the employee, you've got to be a bit objective about it and actually think, well, what's the fair outcome? What, you know, who's in the wrong here? Who, you know, should there have been a dismissal or not? So it's quite an interesting balance, I find. But I think it's going to be an interesting year ahead of us now, sort of dealing with the mess of last year.
Yeah, no, that all sounds like everything's there that people need if they're in that kind of situation.
Hope so.
It's really interesting, and I'm glad the house build's going well. How are your colleagues wearing being back in the office?
They've all been fine, actually. They came back. I mean, a lot of them stayed here the entire time they were allowed, and then everybody else has sort of jumped back in. I think I'm the only one in Andover who's still working at home most of the time. But to be completely honest, I've not seen anyone this morning because I came in and came straight onto today's call, and so I'll have to go around a minute and sort of my face, let them know I'm here. Anyway, because people are dropping off, so I'll put it down and yeah, because I think we've sort of been on for a while now.
We have indeed. Thank you so much. So it's been great to see everyone this morning. The world is still turning. For myself, I've been still doing my little course to do with the inspiration space in Winchester University, and I'm asking myself quite deep questions with some of the lecturers' help about how I can best, you know, grow and serve people that, you know, take up membership for the Natural Business Network. I asked a question of people recently, like this morning, the group that come at 7:30, and I said, you know, was anybody familiar with the economic development plans for Test Valley? And it's actually quite surprising that nobody's that aware of it. As I say, it's worth going to the council website and taking a look at the economic development plan and seeing what they were planning in 2019. It's just been updated now, February 21. So I thought it makes quite interesting reading, because again, with NBN, I'm trying to help people connect up and to build good, strong relationships so that we can all work, live and play together. And a lot of the things, you know, like the pocket park down in the town, you know, that will be a benefit to us. So I've been exploring that kind of thing. I've been doing a little bit of walking, and I've actually resumed some of the beauty clients that have been allowed to come this month. So I'm sort of thinking, oh, running out of time. But it's been great to see all of you. And I think, you know, I did the NBN as something to grow business. It all changed. We had to go on Zoom, but I'm definitely going to keep these 2 Zoom meetings on a Thursday morning. But there will be some opportunities coming up where there'll also be an evening meeting on offer and lunchtime as well, because I'm conscious that some of us have got, you know, the small children that want to be busy doing something early afternoon or lunchtime. But I will be trying to always make the members in the group so that you all connect well and that you're aware of what the other people are doing, so that it's an efficient use of your time and interests. And I think, you know, there's a lot of reinventing the wheel, as they say. So I hope to build some good connections that we'll all benefit from. And thank you for coming along. It's been really good. And thank you, Gerald, so much for a very interesting talk on coffee. I think I shall be enjoying another one a little bit later. Excellent. And remembering your instructions. And we do definitely need some videos on how to best make it. And the hot chocolate as well, because your hot chocolate is divine.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for being here, Chris. I think your sound wasn't too good earlier, was it? You said that you're up on the commercial centre up at Picket Peace.
Yeah, unit 102. You want to come to that?
Yeah, and you can smell the chocolate, can't you? Like when you go to Basepoint and you can smell the beautiful coffee aromas.
No, it's a much nicer smell.
You can smell the chocolate. And it
tastes much better.
fascinates me that you can have things like chili, is it, in chocolate?
Loads of things, yes.
Yeah. In the old days, it was only, you know, mint in your after eights was the most exciting thing you got.
Yeah, moved on.
Okay.
What different flavours do you do, Chris?
Well, our most popular flavour is salted caramel.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, we do mint, we do orange, we do coconut, do just the basic dark chocolates. We do some fudge as well, chocolate fudge. We do some chocolate boxes. We do the chocolate drink, obviously, that Gerald has. And so we do quite a few things. That we sell an awful lot of what we call fill bars. So we have a mint fill bar, which is let's say it's like a bar with a sort of mint filling inside. So better than an after eight, much better because it's better quality, tastes a lot better, and yeah, you go away enjoying it rather than just thinking you just had a whole load of sugar.
Lovely. Well, I hope, you know, by popping in here, you may have got some potential connections that are useful. I could see people like yourself and Gerald and Simon, you know, actually having some knowledge in exploring what you do.
Yeah, if you can give me a call sometime, Simon. I sent you my my telephone number via the messaging.
Lovely. Okay. Yeah, happy to, Chris. Thank you.
All right.
Lovely.
Cheers. Thank you.
Is there anything else anyone would like to ask of any of you that are here? Any burning questions left? I think we've got quite a lot of information and done very well with lots of interacting this morning. But if there's nothing else, I will end it there. But thank you for being here. And would you like to go on our regular invitation list, Chris?
Yeah, sure. Put me on there.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is there's no pressure to come to every meeting or for the amount of time that you have to come, because I completely understand that work and family and everything has to come first. But as you can see, we've got some lovely people that, you know, tend to come in, and I hope we would see you again.
Well, yeah, put me on the list. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. Okay, then, everyone. See you all next week. And thanks again, Gerald. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Here.
Thanks, Sue.
Bye.
Bye, Sue.